All right, welcome to the Read Your Keys podcast. I am your host, Joel Lopez. I wanted to let you know that if you are listening to this on iTunes, please comment and subscribe. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, please subscribe to the podcast. Appreciate that if you would do that for me. Today, my guest is Mr. Tyler Todt. He is a husband, the #1 ranked girl dad, fitness health habits, and a work in progress, and winning one day at a time. Shirts hate him. Pull-up bars hate him because he crushes them. Tyler, welcome to the show today, my man.
Thank you so much, brother. It's good to be here, man. And I'm a fan of the podcast. I found you, a couple months ago when you had Joel on, and I've listened to a bunch of them. Yeah, it's great stuff, man. You're hilarious, by the way. So I love all our interactions on Twitter too, man. It's
appreciate
fun.
it. Yeah, it can be all serious. I'm actually pretty introverted and pretty serious for the most part. I had to kind of learn to laugh a little bit. So I think my wife appreciates it because man, you're just so serious. I'm the no fun zone. I'm like
you would never know that just off some of the interaction. You just come in and get these one-liners, man, that just get me laughing every single day, man.
I appreciate it, man. At least I make somebody laugh. So I had Tyler on the show because he had posted something about his past. It was in regards to living like a party lifestyle, but also like kind of a high life style. You had mentioned that you were a big time gambler and made quite a bit of money doing that, and had the opportunity to, from my impression, kind of do what you wanted, but it still wasn't enough. So yeah. I kind of wanted to just have that as a point to just kind of jump off from there. Could you kind of take us through a little bit more of that, please, Tyler?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I went to college standard like most people, and I grew up in church and went to church, but then I got to college and kind of how most kids do, I couldn't be bothered with going to church anymore. I feel like I wanted to do alcohol and date a bunch of girls, and that wasn't really welcome in church. So I kind of went off on my own. And then I found that I had a really unique talent for online poker. I deposited like $60. I ended up winning a tournament for a couple thousand. And once I did that, I bought every book I could. I memorized every statistic. I just literally spent the next 3 or 4 months just studying poker. And then I got really, really good at it. I had back-to-back like 300K plus years. That was my job for the next 9 years. I mean, it's funny. I woke up today and I saw on my Facebook memories, I was in Istanbul in Greece this time 10 years ago, just traveled the whole world playing poker because I could play from any laptop. So that was my life, was just kind of, let's pick a destination and go for a month or go for a few weeks and travel around with buddies and nightclub life and all that kind of thing. And when the money's coming in that fast, when you're young, I can relate to some of these professional athletes. It wasn't that big of money, but for several $100,000, when your rent's only $400 a month, where you're in a college town, you're rich. You're rich, man. You're making $30K a month. As a college kid, you're just, anything you want is at your fingertips. So yeah, I just lived that lifestyle, and I always had this hole kind of that I feel like I couldn't fill. And I tried. I mean, I bought luxury cars, everything I could find to try and fill it. But I could never be alone with myself. I never had peace. Then I ended up getting married really young at 24, a girl I met in Vegas. And that didn't go so well. And so when that ended, that was kind of like a big wake up call for me that, hey, when I'm the captain of my ship, I don't tend to do so well. I need to submit every day and wake up and kind of start with, hey, life's bigger than just me trying to make me happy,
So it was the divorce that was kind of the catalyst for.
I would say that was a big catalyst. And we had a pretend good marriage, we had really good pictures in these exotic locations and things like that, but we didn't have a very good marriage, Value-wise, we didn't line up. We were good friends, but it was a dead marriage. So just physically, it was dead for a couple years and things like that. So,
if you don't mind me asking, how long was that marriage for?
About 3 years,
okay,
something like that. Yeah, a little over 3 years. And I was actually out in Vegas, man. We out for the World Series of Poker. She was supposed to come that weekend, and I literally just got a call saying, "It's over. Like, I'm cheating on you," And it just
wow.
then I had this kind of facade for all my friends and family that we had this great marriage and we had this great life. We had a big house, we had luxury cars, we had all these things, and it was just pretend, you know. And I kind of feel like I was a different person to everybody I met. You know, I was poker Tyler. I'd become like a more religious Tyler around certain people. I'd become a party Tyler around other people. And so I just never had peace, man, until you're kind of authentic and you can be the same person around everybody.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no inner peace. And so it really took a lot of soul searching after that before I really found that, you know.
That's pretty powerful, man. Just to recognize that you are kind of putting on different hats or different faces to different people. That I mean, there's really no peace in that, right? Because it's like, hey, I can't
dude,
be
it's exhausting.
That's a good word for it. Exhausting. So as you kind of go from, you have this moment of I'm not. There's a hole in the heart. I have all these things, because that's the thing that's kind of fascinating to me, is that you have the opportunity to have all these things, right? Like, yes, there's people who can have more money, but you pretty much could have had whatever you wanted, and it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of people search for that, and they're still on their way to that. But like you had that. You've kind of been at the bottom of that, or the top of that, or however you want to call it. And you kind of did you give it up then, or because you're still
the big catalyst for me, man, was so after that divorce, I moved to Chicago, and I was single, and I bought like a luxury condo in Lincoln Park, and I lived that kind of lifestyle still as a single man for about a year. And again, man, I was drinking 4 or 5 days a week, parties, nightclubs, bottle service. I mean, I think I blew through 6 figures that year just partying. I said I was a professional poker player, but I wasn't even playing much then. I was just living on a bunch of the money that I still had from winning. And it's just so unhappy, man. That was the unhappiest period of my life. But if you'd have talked to people that knew me and all those party friends, they would have said Tyler was so happy. You know, oh, he's the life of the party kind of guy. But I was miserable inside. Then I took a trip to Vegas by myself, and I had recently started going to coffee with an old preacher friend, and he had kind of challenged me to, read a little scripture, do a little studying as an odds guy. What do I think? Was the universe created, or was it by accident? Why are we here? Those big questions, right? And I tweeted about this a couple weeks ago, but I was just running at like midnight on a back road in Vegas after a poker session, and this song pops into my iPod, Holy is the Lord God Almighty. And I got pissed, man. I got angry. And I turned the song off, and I started yelling at God, like, how could you let me get here? I'm miserable, And I hit shuffle. And then I started running again, and that song popped on again. And by the end of that run, man, I was on my knees saying, I can't do this anymore. I'm exhausted, So I asked Jesus come into my life at that point, man. And, it's never just like a steady thing. It's faith is so personal. But then shortly after that, I started praying for my future wife and realizing, hey, I don't want to be in clubs 4 nights a week. This isn't the lifestyle I want. And then I met my now wife maybe 4 or 5 months after that. She runs a charity in Swaziland, South Africa called Give Hope, Fight Poverty, where she helps orphan education is her big thing. She's built schools, libraries, all kinds of cool stuff there. I signed up for a trip right away. And that was what really changed my life, man. When I went over there and found out for $50 you can feed a family of 4 for 3 months,
crazy.
What do I spend $50? And so that's just when my whole life really changed, man. When I started really realizing, holy cow, man, this world is so much bigger than just my happiness. And it's now I look at it every day. What can I give, as opposed to what can I take? And that was the shift in happiness for me, to be honest, because it's counterintuitive, which is weird. If you're thinking like, well, I want to be happy. Okay, how do I make myself happy? It's don't worry about your own happiness. You start to give and help others, and then I don't know. Now I feel more fulfilled than ever.
Was part of it, like I've traveled. I have family in Mexico. I've traveled to Mexico, but I've never traveled to like Africa or India or places where there was like big time poverty. But one of the things that you hear of people who travel is like, these people don't have a lot, but they're really happy, like, and as Americans, like, we take for granted like how like much we have, but we're not happy. So what was some of the I don't want to impose like on
No,
what you
yeah.
thought, but like what were some of the things that you kind of noticed?
I could talk about this forever, man. There's no anxiety there, right? Like they
Uh-huh.
live on like $1 a day a lot of times, but there's people are so happy. Like I'd noticed the first day I went there to help them, right? Like
Hmm.
arrogant American is going to go
Hmm.
help build something and help them.
Yeah.
Dude, they helped me. Just it was amazing because they don't. I always joke they don't ever walk, they run. They
Hmm.
don't ever talk, they sing.
Hmm.
They don't ever just they're dancing all the time. It's just they're so happy. They're spirit flooded.
Hmm.
I mean, it's like that, most of them live in just a single one home like hut, but dude, they're so happy. Like
Yeah.
literally the happiest people I've ever met. And they're so grateful for everything. And they exude that kind of joy, and that kind of peace. Like there was such a peace. Some of the best memories of my life are just, sitting around playing cards, playing these little made up games that we played, playing tag with them, and just the peace and the joy and the extreme laughter coming from them. And I just remember thinking, like, dude, I'm so envious. I want that.
Hmm.
Like, how do these kids that don't have, to me, it was always, what do I have to buy to try and make myself
Yeah.
happy? Or what trip do I need to take to make myself happy? They don't have any of this, but they're so happy.
Hmm.
And so then I started journaling a lot, and that was the catalyst to start writing and journaling. Well, how do I get that?
Hmm.
And it comes from within.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
It's
they
funny
really
that you
taught
said
me
that
so
about the
much.
running thing, because I noticed my son this morning. I have young children, and he was looking for my wife, and he's like, "Oh, where's mommy?" And it's like, "Oh, she's in the kitchen." And then little boys, they'll just start running, like no, I'm not going to walk to the kitchen. They just like take off and run. And I thought of like, oh, like how fun is that? Like, adults, I'm not going to be walking to the grocery store, like, I'm gonna pick up and start jogging, but the kids do that, and it's just like, oh,
Yes,
it's just
man.
that innocent joy. And maybe it's ego as adults, like, hey man, this dude is over here just running. It's like he's not running to exercise, he's just running. And
Yeah.
it sounds like, but a lot of the kids have that. And I think that's one of the joy of having kids, is that you can see those things that like you don't do anymore. It's like, oh, they do that. And how maybe this is a little bit of a tangent, but like, they hurt each other and then they forgive each other and they go back to playing. It's not a big deal.
Yes. Yeah, being a dad, man, I know that you know this with 4, right? But it teaches you so much. That's one thing I just love about being a dad is like my daughter, everything's a challenge, right?
Mhm.
Like we go for a walk almost every night as a family, and it's always like, Dad, you think you can jump over this? You think you can climb this? And it's like, why don't we live like that as adults?
Yeah.
Like it's fun, dude, to just think like, I wonder if I can do this. Let's try. Let's run over here and do that. It's just like that's how we live now, and it's amazing that like kids kind of it's not socially acceptable as an adult, to just say kind of, I'm at work, hey, let's go see if we can climb that. Let's go see how many push-ups we can do. Let's see, but it's a fun way to live,
There was a wrestler. This was from a few years ago. These were the guys that went and wrestled with the DuPont wrestlers, and one of them got killed. They were gold medal wrestlers, but I remember like watching one of the documentaries, and they were like, Schultz, I think Schultz was his name, but they were saying like he'd be driving down on the highway or whatever, and he'd see like a mountain, he'd be like, I need to go climb that mountain, and stop the car and just get off and then go climb the mountain. I was like, dang, wrestlers are a little crazy, especially to be at that level.
Right.
And I imagine it'd be the kind of same thing with poker too, right? Like takes a certain amount of mindset, a certain amount of like risk taking that you have to do it at a high level. I mean, because you were making pocket change, man. Like that's some good money.
Yeah, my stop loss back then was 15K. So I thought if I lost any more than 15 grand in a day, probably I wasn't going to get it back. Good things weren't going to happen. So I had many, many, many days where I went to work and I lost 15 grand. Now I had days where I went to work and made 50. And it's equally as hard to sleep at each night. So it presents a lot of challenges. It really, really strengthened my mindset. And I do credit poker a lot with like, dude, like I'm emotionally unattached to money and stuff now, and I think poker helped me with that a lot.
That's definitely high stress too, right? I mean, like you're not especially at that level, you're not dealing with $20 bets anymore.
Yeah, and so being able to stay calm, to make a bet and know that you're bluffing. Like I bet $3,750 on the river, and I know that I have nothing. I kind of know what his hand range is. I think it's the right play, and I just live with it. And so, a lot of poker teaches you. I love poker for that reason because I still play quite a bit now, not near those stakes, man. I make, if I make 1,500 to 2,000 a month, I'm happy at this
Mhm.
point. But
Did you kind of like distance yourself from doing the poker full time then, or?
yeah, to be honest, though, it was laws that kind of changed that. They called it Black Friday. It's about 8 or 9 years ago. A law passed where online poker became illegal in the U.S.
Mm.
And that was part of a reason. Our family, we were from Illinois, but we moved to Vegas. Number one for the sunshine, but probably the third or fourth reason on that list was I can play online poker now when my girls go to bed. So
Oh, okay.
it's like this year I'm up, a little over 20,000 just playing after they go to bed. So it's a nice little side hustle for sure.
Do you do any in person gambling, or is it mostly online?
Yeah, I still play a little bit. I think I've been 6 or 7 times this year with pretty good success. But it's, again, I put it like sixth on my priority list.
Uh-huh.
So it's faith, family, fitness, relationships. You go down that line, and if all those boxes are checked, then I'll go play. But it's not. I don't prioritize it that much
Okay.
anymore.
Is there? I would imagine there's a difference though of playing in person and online, right? Because you get to actually like
Oh yeah.
see the person, and like I'm not a guy that has a good poker face. Like my wife can tell like if I'm like keeping something. So it's like I'd probably be like a terrible
It's probably a good
poker player.
thing.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, you're not a good liar. It's like, I guess that's a compliment.
That is a
I'll take
compliment
it
for
as a
sure.
compliment.
Yeah, and the difference online is I play 10 games at a time. So it's more of just a math equation, constantly math equation. Whereas live is more just it's a lot of patience. It's a lot of like
Uh, so you have like, do you have like one computer monitor and you're playing 10 games on it, or you have like,
I got a big setup with double screen,
uh,
two like 20 some inch screens, so
uh
I can stack all 10
yeah,
games. Is how I do it. I used to play 24 at a time back in the day,
yeah,
and I had a really crazy setup back then. But that was just my work. It was my office. I treated it just like that. I
uh
had spreadsheets, and I just ran it just like a business.
yeah.
Back in the day.
Do you, and so there's no, there's no desire to, it's more of a hobby than it sounds like, right? Because you said it's like priority number 6 or 7 now.
Yeah, it's a side hustle and a hobby, and I'm grateful for it, man, because it provides a really good like secondary income
Hmm.
for us, which is great. And it'll allow me to escape my 9 to 5. Like I don't plan on working at a bank.
Hmm.
I've been at a bank for almost coming up on 6 years.
Uh-huh.
Manage a bank, and when I went in and started that, my wife and I decided I would be doing that for. We said 12 to 14 years was our goal because I'm like I'm not the guy who's going to go work an office job for 40 years,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think I'll be able to be out. I'll have the option of being out in a couple,
Nice.
in about 8 years. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Okay. And so going into the fitness, I mean, I saw that you posted some, you have posted some pictures of like you, I think your daughter was really young, and you look like a dad. Like you can't see Tyler right now, but he's a fit dude. Like dude is shredded. So what was like you have like your faith, you kind of had that transformation. Were you an athlete previously and then kind of picked it back up, or?
Yeah, so I grew up playing sports. I was really, really fortunate too. Like my dad was my coach. My dad's really into fitness. He's run like 15 marathons.
Mhm.
My mom was big into running and biking. So my family was always fit growing up. But then kind of the same thing. I got away from it. I was pretty disciplined in it when I was playing like higher stakes poker because I saw it as an edge. Like I needed to be,
The stamina part
kind of.
piece of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it helps with mindset. And then once I had a child, Tinley, our first daughter, that was the year I went and started working in an office. And man, I just completely got away from it for about 18 months. I started eating donuts in the office every day. I also went back to school and finished college. So my days were just really long. The
Hmm.
nights were really long because the daughter she didn't sleep very good for 8 or 9 months.
Hmm.
So, and I just tried to be superhero dad, right? And I thought it was this selfless thing I was doing by not working out. But then 18 months into my daughter's life, man, my wife and I didn't have a good marriage. I wasn't happy with myself. I was gained a lot of weight and just didn't feel good ever. I was chugging 4 and 5 of these sugary crap Starbucks coffees every day to get through the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then my wife snapped one picture of me, and I'll never forget. She was gonna post it, and I begged her, please don't post that. My gut's hanging out. Like, now that's my Twitter profile picture, of course. But like, I just, I was just so embarrassed by it. I can't believe I looked like this. And it was more important. I felt just so bad at that point, and it was carrying over to every other area of my life.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't sleeping well, wasn't being a good husband, had no confidence, things like that. So I journaled that night 3 or 4 things that I was going to change the next day. And that's what this ebook coming up in about a month is about. Now I've got 7 principles that I live by at the office, and things that I do and I don't do every day at the office. But yeah, that's how that started, man. Was I kind of knew this is the right stuff to do. I went and got certified as a trainer. I hung around people that worked out, so it was real easy to get back into it for me and know the right things to do. But it was just also, all right, I got to get up an hour earlier every day. I got to make some of these sacrifices, and it's been worth it, man, because now I feel like I have unlimited energy again. I have, kind of got back to myself.
Can you talk a little bit more about the book? Because you had mentioned that you were still writing it. What are some things that you're able to share? Obviously I want you to buy the book. Tyler's a good dude. Buy the book. But can you
Yeah, and man, this book isn't going to be anything to get rich. It's just an ebook only, and if somebody really, really wants it and can't afford it, I'll give it to you. It's going to be like $20 or something. But it's just how to stay shredded. It's my 7 tips to staying shredded while working an office job. Because I interact with a lot of people on Twitter and stuff. The biggest thing is, hey, I got kids, I got this office job, I got to commute, I got all these responsibilities, and I can't find time, I can't make a way, And so for me, I get pumped when I talk about it a little bit. Hear the pitch of my voice change. Hear change a little bit. But yeah, it's just all my best tips and practices. And there's so many ways and so many things that you can steal time each day. How to do that? A big one I always talk about is setting water goals, right? Like if you're in an office, you shouldn't be chugging this sugary Starbucks stuff every day, man. You should be setting water goals. So I have water goals every single day. It also makes you get up and pee a lot, so you're not sitting all the time. There's just little things. I use little visual cues that help with that. Meal prepping is something every single person should do. It saves you money. You don't go out to eat. You don't eat a bunch of crap. Then you have extra time on your lunch. I walk every day on lunch, or I do wind sprints like I did a couple days ago. About once a week, I'll do wind sprints on my lunch break. There's just a bunch of little tips, man, that everybody can do that I think you can steal time and that can help you stay in shape while at the office and then still not take that time away from your family, Because as a dad, you got 4 kids, right, Joel? Yeah. So it's like, man, I don't really want to be Mr. Olympia at this point. I don't want to be taking 3 hours a day in the gym.
Right.
But I want to be in good shape so when I get home, I got a lot of energy. I can run around with my kids. I can play with them, And so it's having that balance. And so how do you do that while you're working an office job? And that's what the book's
I think that's important because I mean that's a lot of men and before all this I was kind of in that same boat, like commute 2 hours a day, then you come home and you got stuff with the kids and you want to be with the kids, but then I had one of the things that I did though was I started getting up really early in the morning to get my workout in early in the morning before the gym's closed. But I don't want to give away the book or anything, but is this are people going to need a gym, or is it going to be helpful to have a gym membership or anything like that?
Nah, man, and I'll give a big shout out to the GOAT Jack Colson here, man. He saved me, man. When the gyms closed here because of COVID, I wallowed for about a week, and I felt really sorry for myself and threw a great pity party. And then I found him on Twitter, and he interacted with me a lot. And now I do all body weight workout, man. And I've wrote my own body weight workout programs, and I share a little bit of those in the book too.
Okay.
But yeah, I coach a couple clients now, and zero gym, man. You don't need a gym to be in shape. I go to the gym 2 days a week now, and that's just I do deadlifts. I really enjoy deadlifts and squats. And then one other day is just vanity. I like doing arms.
Some curls.
So, yeah.
Gotta have
Girls
them.
for the girls.
Yes,
Yeah,
I mean,
you don't even need to do them, but I just love them.
but I mean, the sun's always out in Las Vegas or in Nevada, right? So the sun's out, guns out. We gotta,
100%,
got
man,
to,
100%.
gotta
Yeah,
conceal
you don't need
carry
to go
those
to.
bad boys.
You don't need a gym at all to be in shape, man.
Okay.
You really don't. And what you said too is getting up early, man. I think as a dad,
Hmm.
especially, I talk about that all the time. Like, there's nothing better than waking up before my girls, and then by the time they wake up, dude, I bettered myself physically, mentally, spiritually, and it's just like then you're ready to attack the day.
Hmm.
It's such a beautiful thing.
No, that's good because I think that's one of like the before you have kids, you don't realize how much time you have, and like when like the golden hour is, it's just like getting up is really it. Because before it'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep so I have enough time to get ready to go to work, and that's it. But if you're able
Yeah,
to do it where it's like, hey, I can have some productive time early in the morning, or I have the good energy, or my thoughts are clear, and then I
yes,
can deal with the day and whatever I have to deal with, and then come home. Like I'm not giving the leftover to the things that matter to me. I'm it's already been taken care of. It got my best, and that was something that was like, oh, that's something that's taken me
100%.
a while to learn. Also, um, you did
What
mention,
time do you get up, Joel? Sorry to interrupt. I know
no,
you're a
no,
very early riser, right?
yeah, I'm usually up by like 4:30. But I'm kind of in I still work a 9 to 5, and right now we're kind of
Yeah,
in a season where it's like, hey, I can hit it really hard and make some good money for my family. So some of these other things have kind of gone by the wayside, just because it's like, okay, this is kind of a temporary thing. But before all
yeah.
this, I was getting up like at 3:30. I'd go to the gym, and then no, I think it's more like 3, because I needed to shower and be out by like 4:30 to get to work by 5, and then
Wow.
and then be home. But I needed to go to bed by like 8:30 or 9.
Yeah.
But it was good. Like I liked being in the discipline of it. And it's like, okay, because I read, well, I used to play sports, and so for me, fitness was just all about playing sports. It wasn't about anything else. Like I didn't, not that I necessarily didn't care about like how I looked. I just wanted to not like get my ass kicked. Like that was just pretty much it. It's like I want to kick some ass. I don't want to get my ass kicked. Like that's kind of how it
Right.
was. And then once I was done, it was like, well, I felt like, oh, if I work out, it's just kind of for vanity, and I don't want to be vain. But I read someone had said something about like their son got hurt on like a camping trip, and he had to like carry his son and hike out like a mile or two, and he was glad that he had been in shape to do that. And it was like, my kids were young. It's like, I want to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So like there's more to it than just vanity, or just
Oh, yeah.
to be shredded. It's another thing. It's like, because I've had times where my kids were at the playground, they fall, they hit their bloody nose, and now I got to carry them home,
Right. Yes.
bloody nose, so they can, we can get them cleaned up or whatever. And, the
Yeah.
biceps start burning a little bit, man. Like my kids bigger.
Yeah, I would say at this point, man, to be honest, even if I got no physical benefit, if my body didn't change from lifting, I would lift. I would still do all the body weight workout. I would still work out just for the mind aspect and kind of what, having energy and other things like that. That, yeah, the practical aspect of just being stronger and helping, having more energy to play with your kids, things
Hmm.
like that. Yeah, to me, the vanity aspect might be reason number 10. Yeah,
Yeah.
my wife, it's a little better. My wife does desire me a little more when I
Yeah,
don't have a
that
dad
helps.
bod,
Yeah.
but
No, that's a big thing
but
for men,
that's,
right? Like, hey, man, like if it's gonna help you close the deal at the end of the night, like, hey, like why not? Like,
there's no downside,
yeah,
right?
there's no downside to that. Um, Let me ask, 'cause I think we got like about like 10-15 minutes here. You hadn't mentioned that you're fostering another daughter, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How were you able to go about doing that, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, it's a cool process. We did it a little bit in Illinois, but not like to adopt. My wife has always felt called for this. She's
Hmm.
just always, my wife's incredible, man. And that's a tip for young men out there. Marry a woman who just has a heart of gold,
Hmm.
because it just makes you better by osmosis by
Hmm.
being around them all the time. But she's just always felt really called to help orphans and vulnerable children, and that's her whole life mission essentially. And so she started talking to me about it 5 or 6 years ago, and we did respite care back in Illinois, where we would just take on foster kids who didn't have anywhere to go for a week at a time or something. And that was
Okay.
kind of fun because you're like a fun uncle, right?
Uh-huh.
You take them to Chuck E. Cheese a couple times and then you give them back.
Uh-huh.
Then when we moved here, she got really serious about wanting to, we talk all the time about what our mission is. We want to live on after we die. How can we really change the world? That's kind of how we talk a lot. And so we said, let's change the life of a kid, a couple kids who would necessarily be in the system. Let's take them out of that, bring them into our home, give them the loving environment, and raise them as our own if God willing, we get the opportunity to do that. So we took all the courses. We got a little girl about a little over 2 months ago at 3 days old. She was drug exposed and has some problems, but now it's everything's great. She's super healthy. She actually slept through the night the first time, man. 2 nights ago. So that's why I got so much energy now, man, because I slept 7 hours in a row, like 2 nights in a row, man. And I feel like a whole different human now.
There you go.
But yeah, we just feel really called to do it. We're actually going to open up another bed here in a week. We're going to do another one, take on another baby.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep doing it until we adopt at least 2.
Nice.
The goal is always reunification, but in this case, I'm not sure that will happen. And we pray every day for God's will, and whatever happens. If He just needs us for this season to keep her safe and love on her, and then give her back to a great home, that's awesome. And then we'll just take the next one. You know.
Is there anything, because I think a lot of the concern for people who I talk to about foster care is I don't want to have to give them back and deal with the pain of giving the child back. Did you? I mean,
we talked a lot as a family about that.
Okay.
Yeah, and even my daughter is 5 years, 5 years old and 3 months now. She's a smart girl, and so we talk to her a lot about. We don't tell her, hey, we're adopting. We tell her, hey, we're keeping her safe. God has given us a lot. In turn, we need to give back to those less fortunate, and so we do that financially and with our time and with our resources and home. So that's what we're doing now. And so if you were to ask my daughter, what are we doing? We're just giving her a really safe home. We're going to love on her. We told her if she goes back home, we're going to throw a huge party. It's going to be a big celebration where we say, oh, it's wonderful. God used us. We got to give her a great home. Now we're going to give her back. My wife and I would probably spend that night crying.
Yeah.
It would be a hard thing. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. But it's just part of the risk you get signing up with it.
That's tremendous.
God willing,
that's a tremendous perspective, though, man. And I think because I mean, there's a lot of kids that need that. Like there was a football player from USC. I don't remember his name, but he went on and got drafted, and he made a lot of money. I can't remember which one it was, but he grew up in the foster system, and he said, I went from house to house to house to house, and he said there was this one lady, though, I can't remember her name, and he says, this was in LA, and he stayed in SC, so it was like downtown LA, and he said sometimes I would just drive the neighborhoods trying to find her, because like that was like the one place that I felt like I got the love that I needed, that kind of sustained me through going through the rest of this stuff. And I'm a UCLA fan. I hate USC just based on principle, but it was just like, man, like I got like a root for this guy. Like that's awesome. And it's just like, yeah, there's this lady who just gave him love. He can't even remember her name, but he just
that's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, for what you're doing, man, kudos to you. And I know you don't want kudos, but I think there's a big thing about just like, hey, I have my little corner of the world, and I just want to make it the best. Like I want to call heaven onto earth right here, where I'm at, and I'm not responsible for the rest of the world, but I can be responsible for this right here. And I feel like you act that, and that's why I like talking to you, because even on your timeline, it's just, you pump up the positivity. I'm all for it. Like I don't know. I'm just for it, man. So just kudos to you.
I appreciate that, man. It's a choice for sure. Every day, there's bad things that happen to me every single day. Yesterday, I got cursed out by a client at work, but man, it's a choice. Am I going to let that ruin my day, or am I going to stay, hey, I can still give that person the best interaction I can and go be the best person I can be, you know. And I agree with you. You just try and change your little corner, you know. Back to the fostering, that all my wife gets the credit, because when we moved to Vegas and she brought this up, I said no.
Mm.
I said, there's no way I'm doing I'm more selfish with my time than she is. And I just said, I'm focused on getting out of the 9 to 5. This is
Mm-hmm.
going to set me back, me,
Yeah.
me. And it took a couple months of prayer, a couple months. It was actually one day at the gym that I just felt super convicted.
Mm-hmm.
God was on my heart that day, and I came home and I told her, "You're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. You know, I agree with you now. Let's start the process." You
That's
know.
really powerful, because I mean, I've heard that voice, and it's just like, nah, I'm trying to build this thing here. You don't understand. Like, I have this goal, and I'm really reaching for it, and this is not in alignment with the goal that I have.
Yeah.
And I don't want to presume anything, and it might be the case or not, but has there been, because I think that, in my opinion, sometimes, like, it's like, hey, I have this goal here, but maybe sometimes you take something on that's kind of outside the realm. It's like, hey, you hear God talking to you, and it actually propels you forward in your goal.
Yeah, and so my goal, you know, to get out of a 9 to 5 or whatever is it's a secondary goal to just like, God, wherever you place me, that's where I want to be used, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So maybe I have made a little bit of less money in the last couple months side hustling because I'm so tired. You
Mm-hmm.
know, some nights I can't play poker.
Yeah.
Some nights she was crying and I just needed to walk her around the neighborhood, so I
Yeah.
couldn't play or I couldn't study or whatnot. At the end of the day, would I trade that for getting to pour into this child and what she has taught us, what she's meant to our family?
Mm-hmm.
And again, that just goes back to the ultimate principle and the mission of just, the more you give, the more you get, man.
Mm-hmm.
I just firmly believe it. It's biblical. God says, you know, test me in this. It's
Mm-hmm.
the only verse he ever says, test me in this,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I believe that's with our resources, our money, and our time.
Yeah.
And so, dude, he's given back. I can't even, you know, I could talk about it for days, man. Just there's little miracles that happen to our
Mm-hmm.
family all the time. We talk about, we just can't even believe it, you know, how blessed we are and favored we are. You know, it's crazy, man. People think I'm crazy when I start talking about it, but it goes back to that sort of that principle of two, when God asks you to do something. It's one of my favorite scriptures where he calls Moses to lead the Israelites out, and Moses' first reaction is no,
Mm-hmm.
not me.
Yeah.
He says no 4 times
Yeah.
to God. God is a burning bush.
Yeah.
He's actually
Yeah.
seen God, and he says no
Mm-hmm.
4 times. You know, pick anybody else. Pick anybody else.
Yeah.
And I think we do that a lot in our lives too, because I kind of heard that tugging a little bit before, and no, me. It's about me. And finally, when God tugs enough, and then you say, it's not about me,
Yeah.
you know, and
Well,
that's where true peace and happiness comes.
and even then, right? He has a stutter. It's like, I'm not the guy to speak. Like, I'm the guy with a stutter. Why
Yep.
use me? But I guess that's the beauty of God, right? It's like he picks the people who are the unlikely, or the ones
Yes.
that don't want it, are the ones that
Yeah.
end up going. So yeah, kudos
Yeah.
to you and your wife, man. I know that's not easy, and especially, you know, you having a 5-year-old, you're kind of done with the, you know, waking up in the middle of the night and the feedings and all that, and you know, that's kind of it's a small time, but when you're in it, it feels like kind of a long time, when
Oh,
you know, like,
yeah.
you know, you're not sleeping and you're tired, like you're,
Yeah.
and I think the fitness probably helped a lot, because I know when I was kind of going through that with a lot of my kids, like I wasn't really working out, and you know, just having that makes it so you don't get so frustrated and upset when it's like, hey, it's a baby crying. And if you were dealing with one too that had you know, I don't know if addiction issues is the right word to use,
Like
but
withdrawal.
yeah. I mean, that makes it exponentially even more challenging. So, like, just, you know, you talk about the benefits of fitness. It's just like, yeah, it's all these things, because when you're tired, you make poor decisions. You're grumpy. You're grumpy with your spouse. You're grumpy with the kids. Like,
Yes.
it has an effect on just your energy, and it's really underrated.
100%, man. And I've said a lot during this last couple months and this season that we're going to go through with fostering newborns. I will not be setting any personal best. You know, there's a lot of days where I go to the gym. Even today, I'm deadlifting. there will be less weight on the bar. I'm tired,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not going to hurt myself trying to, there's no ego in it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still going to show up and do it,
Yeah.
even if it's a terrible workout, it beats no workout,
Yeah.
so it's, there's seasons of life, and this season isn't going to be about personal bests and killing, all these things, but that's okay with me.
Yeah, I think there's
okay
something to be
that.
said about like the killing it, because I know, like, for me, like, if you would tell me like, oh, I'm gonna go for a walk, it's like, that sounds like a waste of time, like going for a walk. Like, that's not a workout. But let's, like, doing what you can with what you have when you can is all that you can do to kind of
Yep.
to keep you going. Because the alternative was like, I just want to do anything for months at a time, and then there is kind of like a athlete clock that kind of kicks off at me. It's like or a stop loss, I guess, would probably be a good one. It's like
for a gambling term.
Yeah, it's like you've let yourself go too far. It's time to kind of go back up to what, because you know what it feels like to feel good, and when you don't feel it, it's like, I've been out of this too long. And I want to see my kids see daddy working out. Like, one of the reasons I married my wife is because she was a ballet dancer and stuff. So, so she works out and stuff like that. So they'll see my wife working out, but it's like, I don't want them to see my wife working out and then not me. Like, there's that part of it. And
you want to lead by example.
I know we're kind of pressed for time here, so I kind of want to land this here and be respectful. I know you got things to do. Just really quick, make sure we hit that you have an ebook coming up. He does some coaching. I think you're booked up with that, but he's really popular. And just talking to you, it's he sounds like he's going to encourage you to do your best. But go ahead and give us like a little last comment before we land this bad boy here, Tyler.
Yeah, man, it's a journey. Life is amazing. It's I just started really getting into health habits, fitness, mindset, all these things a few years ago. And so on that journey, I just want to encourage other people as much as I can. And I'm not taking any clients now coaching, but man, I would recommend, there's some amazing coaches on Twitter. Go hire them. I have a coach myself, that I speak to, Zach Hommel, shout out. That guy's changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
I booked one call with him and immediately after booked a bunch more, just because having somebody that can see your stuff from the outside and help you, it's been incredible. I've lived both sort of lives, and I feel like in my 36 years, I've had a lot of experiences, and waking up every day sort of on mission, having a plan, having good habits, having these good things that sort of carry you through, man, it's huge. And just staying positive and making that choice every day that, hey, I want to encourage others and help them to live that life, man. And I appreciate you so much on Twitter too. This community, man, has meant more to me than anything. Cynthia Thurlow has helped with my diet. So, I could name Dan Dan Go has changed my relationship with my wife so much, just how we block off time every month now to talk about our goals and share our dreams. And all these people just have leveled me up so much. And so any little bit that I can pour back into anybody, I'm grateful for that opportunity too, man. Because I love this community so much, man. And I'm grateful to meet you too, man. I'm gonna be in Arizona in the next 4 or 5 months, and we're gonna hang out too, man.
For sure. I'm gonna have to work on my pull-up game. I can't stand them, man. So
get on those pull-ups, baby.
Yeah, I got to. So hey, this is the Read Your Keys podcast. We had a time constraint on this one. I feel like I could talk to you for another hour or so, man.
Let's hop back on here in a couple more months,
for
man.
sure.
Yeah, I apologize for today. Yeah, my wife's got something.
All good,
She's
man.
got to hop on here in a minute.
Good,
I appreciate you, man.
All good. So his name is Tyler Todt, because it's Todt, but I was like, how do I say this? It's Todt. Let's get the man's name right. You can find him on Twitter at Ty Romper, TYROMPER. He'll improve your timeline just for the positivity of it, if nothing else. But great follow. He is a husband, #1 ranked girl dad, fitness, health habits, work in progress, winning day one day at a time. Love building others up. Let's all win together. His ebook is coming out. I hope I can be at least one of the first ones to get it. So I'll make sure.
Got a free copy, brother.
Nah, man, I got to pay the support. I'm a big believer in supporting, so I'll pay for that. And so if you're interested, find that out. He can point you in the direction. Tyler, appreciate you coming on today, brother.
Hey, thank you so much, Joel. You have a blessed day, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks so much. This is the Read Your Keys podcast. Please subscribe on iTunes and comment. Spotify, we're on there. Check us out. Have a good one.
Hey, thanks, man. Have a good one. Appreciate you.